Tonight, on the Friday night Iron Man Marathon, we pay tribute to Frank Stallone. The Pink Chiquitas, Frank's greatest starring role, right here on the Movie Channel. And then we're going to follow that at 2:25 in the morning with Dogs in Space, Australian punk rock deal. Skip it, real boring, it's an awful movie. And then finally, here's the one I want you to stay up for, Night Riders at 4:15. If you never have seen it, you need to. It was made back 7 or 8 years ago by George Romero, the great director of Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, and They're Still Dead. And George has always wanted to make a different kind of movie than just movies about dead people, and so he made this really weird flick about a group of motorcycle stunt drivers that go from town to town putting on these Renaissance fairs. You know those deals where they play the real bad plastic flute music? Only they have this real jousting and fighting on the bikes, and they live by the code of King Arthur. It's one of the longest movies in human history and didn't do too good at the box office, but it kind of grows on you, especially Ed Harris as the king of the tribe. Also watching the opening part of the movie, Stephen King is one of the beer-guzzling, obnoxious spectators. Big Steve is a friend of George Romero, and I guess he was hanging around the set. Anyhow, that's the one to stay up for. This first one, The Pink Chiquitas, is about some zombie hookers from outer space that take over a town and start sexing all the men to death. It's interesting for about 10-15 minutes. So go get you something to eat and come back at 4:15. That's when we got some real action on VCR Overnite, the Iron Man Marathon. I'm Joe Bob Briggs. I'll catch you later.
Welcome, Joe Bob Briggs, to Lava Lamps and 8-Track Theater.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Great. Just to mention, on this episode, the subject is mainly about horror hosts. So who was your favorite one growing up?
Favorite horror flick?
Horror host.
Oh, favorite horror host. You know, there wasn't really a horror host where I was growing up, but there was a guy who dressed up in a monkey suit every afternoon and did a show called Slam Bang Theater.
Oh, okay.
In Dallas. That was I watched that guy every day when I was growing up.
Oh, wow.
And but they usually wouldn't show scary films because it was the afternoon. I discovered the horror hosts later and became friends with some of them, but probably the one that's most interesting to me was the guy Ghoulardi in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
He actually got fired for being too weird.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And we had Ghoulardi's last appearance before he died on my show when I was at Movie Channel. He hadn't done the character in 20 years, but he put the makeup back on and he came on and he did Ghoulardi one last time.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
In like late 90s, I guess.
Cool. So do you have a favorite Godzilla movie?
You can't really beat the first one. I mean, you really can't beat the original Godzilla.
Yeah, the King of the Monsters one?
Oh yeah, the one where they stuck Raymond Burr in there to make it to make it look more American.
Yes.
Yeah, they're kind of trying to disguise the fact that it was a Japanese film, but that was probably the best one. I mean, we showed a lot of them on Monster Vision when I was doing that show on TNT, and you know, there's only so many variations you can do on Godzilla. I mean, there's certain things he has to do. He has to glow. He has to come up out of the ocean. He has to stomp Tokyo. You know, and when you move outside of that, when you like try to put him in other cities and other environments and make him do other stuff, it's not as I don't know. It's not as scary. You know, you got to have the army, you know, attack him, and the Air Force. But
yes.
I think the original ones were the best ones.
Cool. So, was there ever a movie that you watched before that scared you so bad you couldn't sleep at night after?
You know, the answer to that is kind of a weird one because a lot of people haven't seen it, and the people that saw it didn't really like it that much. But there was a movie called Wolfen in the early '80s, I think.
Oh.
I can't remember when Wolfen came out, but it was these wolves that roamed through the Bronx at a time when the Bronx was looked like a war zone, and it was the first movie that used the Steadicam. The Steadicam was a new piece of technology at the time. So you could put the camera really low to the ground, and you could go over these barren places in the Bronx and give you a wolf's eye view of the, right before the wolves would attack, they would have this fast Steadicam footage. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was something about that, the wolf being, so much faster you can't outrun it, and it strikes at night, and it had these green glowing eyes and everything.
Wow.
And it was packs of wolves. They were all over the place, and there was something about that Steadicam that made me kind of like disoriented,
mm-hmm.
and so I had dreams about that movie, for 2 or 3 days. Then of course I had to go back and see it again.
Yeah. I think the movie that scared me like that was Carrie when I was little.
Really?
Yes, for some reason, I don't know.
Which scene got to you? Like
the mom really, I don't know, the mom freaked me out when I was small.
Yeah, it was the mom that scared you. It wasn't Carrie so much, right?
I thought she was going to come out at night and creep up at me or something. But any popular horror movies that did not scare you?
Oh, horror movies that did not scare me?
Yes.
Oh man, there's millions of those. There's one of the mistakes people make when they make, a lot of people get into the horror business who shouldn't be in the business because they don't like horror films.
Mm-hmm.
And so they make films that are they either talk down to the audience or it's all fake scares. It's not, you're not scared of the character, you're just scared because anybody can track into a close-up and then have something jump out of the side of the frame. That's
mm-hmm.
what that's the cheapest thing you can do in a horror movie, and people do that all the time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really scare you; it just kind of disorients you and makes you laugh.
Right.
And so I don't know. There's just been thousands of them. I mean, when they get to the point where they're really, really, really bad, then they become interesting in an ironic way. And we had a film on my show called Howling 7,
mm-hmm.
the one that killed the Howling franchise. I thought it killed the Howling franchise. Somebody told me they just made a new one somewhere. But Howling 7 became so notorious as the worst film ever made that they changed the title and they called it The Howling New Moon Rising, and then they gave it another title. I can't remember what it was. But it was, first of all, it used footage from The Howling 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then, so it kept having flashbacks. And then it was filmed with these amateur actors in Pioneer Town, California, which is this abandoned western town in
mm-hmm.
Southern California. They used this country western bar that's there, and it's just horrendous. You can't figure out the plot, but even if you could figure out the plot, there's just nothing scary at all. And then they have gratuitous things like, long scenes of motorcycle riding, long scenes of line dancing in the country western bar, all kinds of musical interludes where the whole cast sings these horrible country western songs. It's like anybody who was coming to the Howling franchise for the first time and they watched Howling 7 would just be appalled. They would be, what's going on? So that's probably one of the worst ones. However, we showed it on the show, and it was so horrendous that people wrote in about it. They wanted to know who were these people that made it, who was in it. And then the people that were in it started writing letters, saying, "Oh, that's me at the bar," and so we showed it again, and it actually got okay ratings. The director was never seen again. It was some Australian guy, and after it was over, he went back to Australia. He was the director and star. I can't remember his name.
Oh, wow. That's funny. I would have to check that out because it sounds pretty bad.
I think you have to watch it on... I don't think they ever released the DVD. I think you have to watch it on video.
Okay.
I think there was no film.
Oh,
there was
VHS.
no actual theatrical release.
Wow,
there was
that rare.
I think there's a VHS, but there was never a DVD, and I've never seen it streamed. It's probably streamed somewhere. I mean, everything is streamed these days, but if you look hard, you can find it.
Okay.
If you get the VHS, keep it. It's probably a collector's item. It's worth a lot of money.
All right. So, can you recite to us what was your last drive-in totals?
The last drive-in totals?
Yes.
Oh my God. I don't know. I haven't reviewed a movie lately, so
okay.
So I don't know what that would be. I can tell you some records. I think there was a movie with 191 dead bodies, and I think it was Total Recall.
Oh wow!
That
many in that one?
Yeah, and let's see, there was a movie called what was it called? Oh, Gas Pump Girls, and I think there were like 120 breasts in Gas Pump Girls. So that was also a record.
That's funny.
All those movies, they used to make those movies, those like high school sex comedies.
Mm-hmm.
Four guys are trying to get laid. It's spring break. 4 guys trying to get laid. They never get laid.
Right.
They go on spring break. They meet a bunch of girls in bikinis, and like half of the movie will be girls getting naked. But when you really break it down, there's only like 3 girls that are getting naked. All the rest of them are in bikinis. And so a lot of those movies that were like supposed to be so racy and full of nudity and everything, the breast count on them would be like 12.
Whoa. So, do you have any more plans for Monster Vision?
I would like to do Monster Vision again. And I talked to various people. It always falls through, because it's old news. It's like, didn't you do that show on TNT? Well, yeah. There hasn't been any hosted shows like that except on. Well, no, I take that back. I mean, there are on. There's a lot of local hosted shows, and there's occasionally you'll see a host done as a stunt,
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of stopped doing them because they don't like to give up all that commercial time for the hosting, around the movie. When I did my show, we could just go all night. We just, we'd start at 10 or 11 o'clock, and as long as we were done by 6 a.m., they didn't care how much I talked. And so, because they would start the schedule over at 6 a.m.
Oh, wow.
And so, sometimes we'd be done by 2 or 3. Sometimes we'd be done at 5. Sometimes we would do those Dusk to Dawn marathons. We did the Friday the 13th marathon. But they're not as loose about that anymore. They want their commercial time. An hour of TV is really only about 42 or 43 minutes. I think it's 42 and a half minutes.
Oh, wow, yes.
And all the rest is commercials. And so if you start taking more of that time for hosting, then they get upset. So it's tough. It's tough to find a place where somebody really wants the hosting and is really into it, and has the right kind of movies.
Wow. So on your website, it's very interesting. You say that you're taking submissions for scripts.
Yeah. I'm starting a film studio.
Cool.
And a low-budget film studio. And
okay.
So you know how film studios always say, "Don't send me a script unless it's submitted by an agent."
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm the opposite. Send me a script and don't have your agent call me. So, no, you can have your agent call me. But we'll read all scripts. We read all scripts, and we get back to everybody on their script. And actually, what you read is just a really brief notice that we put in on that. And we, as soon as we put it out, we received about, hundreds and hundreds. I forget what the number is now.
Wow.
And and we're continuing to read scripts and consider scripts, and we should get started
cool.
pretty soon now.
So you go through a lot of scripts.
Yeah. So we've already gone through about 2,000 scripts.
Wow, that's a lot.
But we will read your script. We will read it, and we will read it carefully.
Cool.
We won't blow you off, and we'll let you know what we think.
Wow, that's great. I'm actually going to start shooting my own first short film soon. and so I'm kind of trying to get into that myself.
Yeah.
Anyways, do you like to watch any kind of like animation, like cartoons or anything?
I do like animation. I like weird animation. I like anime, and the only place I really watch it though, it's like I don't follow it very closely, and so the only place I normally see it is at film festivals. They'll have like young filmmakers with new stuff at the festivals, and so I'm not really up on it the way I'm up on other stuff, but I do like it, yes.
Oh, cool. Great.
Especially the hardcore, really dark Japanese animation.
Oh, yes, I like that.
Yeah. A lot of apocalyptic stories and stuff that they tell in animation. I love that stuff.
Yes, totally. So aside from movies, what does Joe Bob like to eat for dinner?
I have an all-American appetite, but I'm from Texas, so Mexican food is, you're in California, and you guys have that Cal-Mex food, I can't eat that stuff. It has to be Tex-Mex for me. Can't eat like mole sauce and stuff that they serve in California. I gotta eat Tex-Mex.
Wow.
But
yeah.
Give me a Tex-Mex restaurant, and I'm there.
Well, I did spend some time in the South in the late 90s, so I kind of agree that food's a little more better down there.
Yeah, and hardcore Southern foods like barbecued beef in the Texas part of in the western part of the South.
Yes.
And then barbecued pork in the eastern part of the South, Memphis and Virginia and Atlanta. But, I love me some barbecue, too.
Wow. Do you have a favorite barbecue? Do you have a favorite hot sauce?
Well, they're all, like, secret.
Okay.
If you go to Lockhart, Texas, that's kind of the center of barbecue for the whole world.
Yeah.
As you go to the many barbecue restaurants in that area, they'll all be selling their secret sauce and serving their secret sauce. So, but I like it hot. anything hot is the hotter the better.
Okay.
So anything that's got habaneros in it, I'll eat it.
Cool. So I got a few more questions. What did you prefer in the 80s, VHS or Betamax?
I never had a Betamax, so I guess I'd have to say VHS, even though everyone said Betamax was better. I only had the VHS, so.
Okay. Do you have any song requests, Joe Bob?
Song requests?
Yes.
Like for your show?
Yes. Like, could be anything, actually.
You know, find the Howling Seven and then play the song Prescription Beer.
Oh, okay.
It's a song in the Howling Seven called Prescription Beer.
Prescription Beer. Interesting. Interesting title. I'll definitely look that up.
Okay.
But anyways, thank you very much, Joe Bob, for appearing here.
All right. Thank you, Isabella.
Yeah, I'll contact you again, and you're welcome back anytime.
All right. Great. Thanks.
Okay. Have a good day.
Okay.
Right. Bye.